What if I told you that hidden within the Bible, the sacred text revered by billions across the world, are secrets not just for spiritual enlightenment, but for unlocking profound insights that could lead to success in both life and business? What if I told you that these messages, encrypted through ancient wisdom, form a divine cipher, waiting for the right minds to unlock and apply? The Bible, a book that has shaped civilizations and influenced countless lives over thousands of years, is often seen as a guide to moral and spiritual life. Its stories, prophecies, and teachings have been interpreted in many ways throughout history. But beneath its surface lies a deeper, more enigmatic layer. What if these teachings weren't just about faith and salvation, but about the very principles of living a successful life in the modern world? Principles that could guide not only our spiritual journey but our business strategies, financial decisions, leadership approaches, and personal growth? For centuries, scholars and theologians have pored over the text, trying to understand its true meaning. Yet, many of its teachings remain shrouded in mystery, with hidden truths buried beneath layers of time, tradition, and interpretation. While many see the Bible as a book of the past, what if we could find a way to translate its ancient wisdom into something practical for today? What if there was a key, a cipher, embedded within the Bible that could offer us a roadmap for success? Imagine for a moment that within the pages of this sacred text lie not only the stories of creation, faith, and redemption, but also strategies for thriving in business, managing wealth, leading teams, and making decisions that bring prosperity. What if the Bible was not just a spiritual manual, but also a guide to personal and professional success? Now, let's take a step into the unknown and embark on a journey to decode these messages. We'll explore how the wisdom contained in the Bible can be applied to modern life and business. Along the way, we'll uncover key lessons about leadership, financial management, crisis navigation, and personal development, lessons that, for centuries, have been buried in plain sight. But before we dive into the depths, let's ask ourselves, are we ready to unlock this divine cipher? The idea that there could be hidden messages in the Bible is not new. Over the centuries, many scholars and theologians have suggested that the Bible contains codes, hidden prophecies, and messages meant for the faithful. But what if these aren't just spiritual teachings? What if they are also practical strategies, specifically for business, success, and leadership? What if there's a secret cipher embedded in its stories and verses, waiting for the right mind to decode them? The mysterious beginning. In the heart of a small town, nestled in the rolling hills of a quiet countryside, a young entrepreneur named Adam was going through a period of uncertainty. His business, once thriving, had begun to decline, and despite all of his efforts, he couldn't seem to turn things around. In the midst of his struggle, he stumbled upon a dusty old Bible in the attic of his family's home. It was an heirloom, passed down through generations, and despite having been given to him years ago, Adam had never really given it much thought. He opened its pages out of curiosity, more as a distraction from his pressing financial issues than any real desire to explore its spiritual significance. As he flipped through the pages, Adam's eyes landed on a verse that seemed oddly relevant to his situation. It wasn't a passage about faith or salvation, but rather one that seemed to speak directly to the issue he was grappling with: business failure and the search for success. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 5. Adam paused, struck by the power of the words. He read it over and over, feeling an uncanny sense of recognition. Could this be the first clue in a larger puzzle? A divine cipher meant to guide him through his struggles? Adam's curiosity began to grow. He had heard of people interpreting the Bible's messages in different ways, but he had never considered that there might be specific business strategies hidden within its verses. He started reading more passages, looking for any references to principles of leadership, wealth, and success, and the more he read, the more he started to uncover. The Bible, he realized, wasn't just a spiritual text, it was a guide for life in all its dimensions. The very first verse Adam had discovered pointed to a principle that resonated deeply with him: patience and diligence. The Proverbs seemed to suggest that careful planning, rather than rushing into decisions, was the key to prosperity. Adam thought back to his past mistakes. His hasty decisions, his failure to plan properly, had led him into his current state of financial difficulty. Decoding the first clue, but as Adam continued to read, he began to realize that this was not an isolated message. Every passage he read seemed to carry echoes of business wisdom. The book of Proverbs, in particular, was filled with guidance on leadership, integrity, and even the management of wealth. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 1. This verse struck Adam deeply as well. In his efforts to rebuild his business, he had been so focused on profits that he had neglected to cultivate a good reputation, something he now recognized as equally important in the world of business. His mind was racing as he absorbed the significance of these teachings. What if the Bible's wisdom, combined with his business acumen, could help him rebuild his company and lead it to greater success? What if these timeless principles could be applied to the challenges he faced in the modern world? Adam's next step was to dig deeper. He began to look for patterns, connections, and overarching themes in the Bible's messages about success. What were the commonalities in the passages that dealt with prosperity and wealth? What could he learn about leadership from the Bible's descriptions of kings, prophets, and rulers? In the book of Daniel, he found a remarkable example. King Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of Babylon, had been a proud and powerful king, but his kingdom had fallen into ruin due to his arrogance. After being humbled by a vision, Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged the power of divine wisdom, the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomever he will. Daniel chapter 4 verse 32. This passage reminded Adam of the importance of humility in leadership. Success in business wasn't just about being the strongest or the smartest. It was about being humble and recognizing the higher powers at play in every decision. A new path forward. With his curiosity piqued, Adam began to take notes, compiling the lessons he had learned so far. Each lesson he uncovered seemed to align with what he had been taught in his business courses: patience, planning, leadership, humility, and the importance of a good reputation. However, these biblical teachings were different. They weren't just theoretical, they were grounded in real-world experiences, rooted in the trials and triumphs of ancient kings, prophets, and leaders. As Adam pieced together these lessons, he realized that the Bible was not just a book of moral teachings. It was a blueprint for success, one that had been used by kings, rulers, and entrepreneurs for centuries. And, if he could decode this divine cipher, he might be able to apply its wisdom to his own life and business. But the more Adam delved into the Bible, the more he began to understand that decoding the divine cipher wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't just about reading a few verses and applying them directly. No, the Bible's messages were complex and layered. They required patience, study, and reflection. He knew that his journey was only just beginning, and that it would take time to fully understand how to apply these ancient principles to his modern challenges. As Adam continued his exploration of the Bible, he began to understand that the hidden messages weren't just about financial prosperity. They were also deeply connected to personal growth, leadership, and a higher sense of purpose. The more he read, the more he realized that the Bible was not only a spiritual guide, but a practical manual for building a successful and meaningful life. Each chapter seemed to open a door to a new understanding of leadership, wealth, and the principles of living a fulfilling life, unlocking the wisdom of kings and prophets. One of the first lessons Adam stumbled upon was the story of King Solomon. Widely regarded as the wisest ruler in the Bible, Solomon's wealth and wisdom were legendary, and his story became a focal point for Adam's search for answers. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon's advice was scattered throughout, offering pearls of wisdom on leadership, personal integrity, and decision-making. One of the most profound lessons Adam found was in Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. For Adam, This verse hit home. It wasn't just about making decisions based on his own knowledge or business experience. It was about trusting in a higher power, one that could provide guidance beyond his own understanding. It was a call for humility and faith, even in the most challenging business situations. Adam realized that by aligning his decisions with his higher purpose, he could make wiser choices that not only benefited his business but also his personal growth and spiritual journey. Solomon's reign was also filled with stories of people who sought his wisdom, such as the Queen of Sheba. When the queen visited Solomon, she was amazed not only by his wealth but also by his wisdom. In 1 Kings chapter 10 verse 7, she says, "Indeed, the half was not told me. Your wisdom and prosperity far exceed the report I heard." Adam reflected on this. Solomon's success wasn't just in his wealth but in his ability to apply wisdom to every area of his life. From diplomacy and governance to personal relationships, it was the application of wisdom, not just the accumulation of wealth, that truly led to his success. This realization became the first major breakthrough in Adam's journey. He understood that wealth and success weren't just about accumulating money. They were about applying wisdom to all areas of life. This holistic approach, he realized, was essential for long-term success, both personally and professionally. The principle of trust and wisdom. As Adam pondered over the lessons of Solomon, he began to apply them to his own life. He started trusting his intuition and spiritual guidance more, taking the time to reflect before making decisions. He recognized that his previous rush to fix his business problems by jumping into hasty decisions without careful planning had led him to a cycle of failure. Now, he understood the importance of pausing, reflecting, and allowing wisdom to guide his steps. But the Bible didn't just provide wisdom from kings and rulers. The Old Testament was filled with stories of ordinary people who overcame incredible odds with faith and perseverance. One such story was that of Joseph, a young man who was sold into slavery by his brothers, yet rose to become the second in command in Egypt. Joseph's journey was not without hardship, but through his faith in God and his unwavering integrity, he found success beyond his wildest dreams. In Genesis chapter 41 verse 46, it is said that Joseph was given the responsibility to manage Egypt's resources during the time of famine. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. What stood out to Adam was not just Joseph's rise to power, but the way he managed the resources of Egypt during a time of crisis. Joseph's ability to plan ahead, store grain during the 7 years of plenty, and then distribute it during the 7 years of famine was an example of strategic thinking and foresight. This was the second major lesson Adam uncovered: the importance of planning for the future. Joseph's story taught him that prosperity isn't just about the present moment, it's about planning ahead, anticipating challenges, and being ready when the storm hits. In business, as in life, the key to success is often found in how well you prepare for the future, how you manage resources, and how you navigate crises. The role of faith and perseverance. Adam's business challenges weren't over, but with each lesson from the Bible, he felt more confident. As he began to implement these principles, he saw small victories. However, he knew that success wouldn't come overnight. The journey would take time, and he had to remain patient and trust the process. One of the greatest revelations Adam had was that faith was not just a spiritual practice. It was a key component of success in life and business. It was about believing that, despite the obstacles and setbacks, there was a greater purpose at work. In the book of James, Adam found a verse that reinforced this idea: "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." James chapter 1 verses 2 to 3. For Adam, this verse became a cornerstone of his mindset. He realized that the struggles he faced were not just obstacles, they were opportunities for growth. His perseverance in the face of adversity would shape his character and ultimately lead him to greater success. Adam also began to see how his faith could guide his interactions with others. In business, it wasn't just about profits, it was about treating people with respect, honesty, and fairness. As he applied these principles, He noticed a shift in how others responded to him. His relationships with colleagues, clients, and employees began to improve. He wasn't just focusing on the bottom line anymore. He was focusing on building trust and integrity in every aspect of his business. Leadership through service. Another crucial lesson Adam uncovered in his studies was the concept of leadership through service. The Bible was filled with examples of leaders who served others, rather than seeking to be served. Jesus Christ, the ultimate example of leadership, taught his followers to lead by serving. In Mark chapter 10 verses 44 to 45, he said, "Whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be the slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve." This was a profound realization for Adam. In the competitive world of business, it was easy to fall into the trap of seeking power and control. But Jesus' example reminded Adam that true leadership came from humility and a willingness to serve others. As he adopted this mindset, he noticed a transformation not only in his business but in his personal life as well. He began to lead his company with empathy, putting the needs of his employees and customers first, and in doing so, he found that his business flourished like never before. The journey of applying the lessons. After months of research, Adam began to realize that the lessons he had gathered from the Bible were not just abstract principles or ancient stories. They were dynamic, practical teachings that he could apply to his everyday work. In every decision he made, he began to rebuild his business based on these principles, and he noticed significant changes. As he continued to study examples from the Bible, Adam recognized something very important. The successful individuals in the Bible were not those with inherent talent or mere luck. They were people who demonstrated patience, knew how to plan, and applied wisdom in every situation. Every challenge they faced was not a failure, but an opportunity for growth and learning. Leadership through humility. One of the most profound lessons Adam extracted was about humility and leadership. Whether it was King Solomon or Joseph, none of them sought to dominate or control everything around them. Instead, they viewed leadership as an opportunity to serve others, to lead with wisdom and fairness. The story of Jesus Christ, especially when he washed the disciples' feet, helped Adam realize that true leadership is not about seizing power, but about helping others succeed, grow, and mature. In his business, Adam began to apply this mindset. He stopped focusing solely on his personal success and began caring about the development of his team and customers. He decided to change the way he communicated with his employees, not just by giving orders but by listening and sharing responsibilities. He worked to create a work environment where everyone felt valued and could contribute to the shared success of the company. Adam also realized that a good leader is not someone who has all the answers, but someone who asks the right questions and helps others find solutions. He started spending more time working alongside his employees, encouraging them to contribute ideas and participate in making important decisions for the company. This not only improved the quality of work but also fostered stronger bonds and loyalty within the team. Financial management and the importance of saving. In addition to changing his approach to leadership, Adam also recognized the importance of managing finances intelligently. He was particularly struck by stories of wealth management and financial wisdom found in the Bible. Like the story of Joseph, who stored up grain during 7 years of plenty to prepare for 7 years of famine. Adam understood that this was not just a story about surviving hardship, it was an important lesson in financial strategy. The Bible, especially in books like Proverbs, gives a lot of advice about saving and investing. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 20 says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." Adam realized that managing finances isn't just about making money, it's about how you manage your money wisely. Spending money recklessly leads to ruin, while saving and investing in long-term values ensures stability and growth. Thus, Adam decided to overhaul the financial strategy of his company. He began creating long-term financial plans, saving for rainy days, and ensuring that the company had the resources to weather difficult times. By doing this, he not only protected his company from financial risks but also made sure that the company could grow sustainably. patience and resilience in the face of challenges. Throughout his application of biblical lessons, Adam faced many challenges, but with each obstacle, he became more aware of the significance of patience and resilience. Sometimes, results do not come immediately, and during these moments, Adam learned not to give up. One of the stories he always kept in mind was that of Job, who endured extreme hardships but never lost his faith in God. In Job chapter 1 verse 21, when he lost everything, Job still said, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." This statement struck Adam deeply, reminding him that in both life and business, challenges and losses will always come. However, what matters is how we respond to them. Patience and resilience are the keys to overcoming adversity and ultimately achieving success. Adam learned that failure is not the end, but rather a step in the learning and growing process. Every failure is a valuable lesson, and as long as we don't give up, success will eventually come. The application of biblical principles to real-life business. As Adam's journey continued, he realized that the biblical principles he was applying were helping him build a stronger business. He had learned how to manage finances wisely, led with humility, and stay patient through trials. More importantly, he understood that applying these principles was not just about achieving success in business but about living a more fulfilling life. He began to incorporate even more principles from the Bible into his daily business practices, such as the importance of ethical decision-making, transparency, and fairness in his dealings with employees, customers, and partners. He saw these principles as a foundation upon which he could build not just a successful business, but a business that made a positive impact on the community and society. His company began to thrive, and as a result, Adam felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The lessons he had learned from the Bible were no longer just concepts or theories. They had become the guiding force of his personal and professional life. The success of his business was now a reflection of the wisdom, humility, and patience he had cultivated through his study of biblical teachings. Conclusion: the power of biblical wisdom. By the end of his journey, Adam had not only transformed his approach to business but also his outlook on life. The principles from the Bible had helped him build a business based on wisdom, fairness, and patience. Every decision he made, every challenge he faced, was guided by the profound lessons he had learned. The biblical messages about leadership, financial management, patience, and humility helped Adam navigate through difficult times and achieve long-term success. His story was not just one of business success but a testimony to the power of biblical wisdom in guiding individuals to lead better lives and create positive impacts in their communities. Adam's journey serves as an inspiring reminder that the ancient messages of the Bible are not only relevant today but can also offer practical guidance for personal growth, leadership, and business success. By embracing these timeless principles, we can all navigate the complexities of modern life and business with confidence and purpose. This is the third and final part of the story, where Adam completes his journey of discovering and applying biblical lessons in his business and personal life. The story not only serves as a reflection of the transformative power of biblical teachings but also as an inspiration for others seeking wisdom and guidance in their own lives and careers. As Adam's journey drew to a close, he found himself not only in a better position financially but also in a deeper understanding of life, leadership, and business. The Bible, once viewed as a sacred text full of ancient stories and teachings, had become the ultimate guide for how to navigate the complexities of modern life. The principles he had uncovered, guiding principles of wisdom, patience, financial prudence, and leadership, had transformed his business and personal philosophy. But the most powerful realization he had was that these messages were not meant to remain locked away in the past. They were meant for today, for people like him who sought to lead meaningful and successful lives. Adam's transformation didn't happen overnight. It was a process of unlearning old habits, rethinking how he approached both business and life, and trusting in the timeless wisdom of biblical teachings. The more he read and reflected, the more he understood that the Bible offered more than just spiritual guidance. It was a roadmap for achieving success in every facet of life, from personal growth to business triumphs and leadership excellence. A new definition of leadership. In the past, Adam had viewed leadership as something to be dominated. He believed in leading from the top, asserting control, and focusing on personal achievements. But after spending so much time reflecting on the leadership examples in the Bible, he began to see that leadership was far more complex and far more rewarding than what he had previously thought. Take King David, for instance. While he was a mighty king and warrior, David was also known for his deep humility and his relationship with God. His leadership was rooted in service, wisdom, and fairness. David's reign wasn't just about his own glory but about elevating the lives of those he led. Adam realized that leadership meant inspiring others, serving their needs, and helping them find their own success. This was a key lesson that Adam applied to his own leadership style. Instead of micromanaging his team or making decisions in isolation, Adam began listening more intently to the thoughts and ideas of others. He encouraged collaboration and fostered an environment where his employees felt heard and valued. This shift led to greater creativity, stronger team dynamics, and ultimately, a more successful and innovative business. Financial stewardship and wisdom. Another core principle Adam had embraced was the idea of financial stewardship. Previously, Adam had been focused on short-term gains, maximizing profits now without thinking too much about the long-term sustainability of his business. But the Bible taught him that true financial wisdom wasn't about pursuing wealth for wealth's sake. Instead, it was about managing resources wisely, saving for the future, and investing in things that would yield lasting value. The biblical story of Joseph was a turning point for Adam in this regard. Joseph's wise management of resources during the years of abundance in Egypt served as a clear example of how to prepare for future hardships. When Adam took this lesson to heart, he began to approach his business finances with the same mindset. He stopped focusing on quick profits and instead implemented long-term strategies for financial health, ensuring that his business was protected even in times of uncertainty. Adam also began investing in his employees' growth, offering them professional development opportunities and helping them enhance their skills. This approach not only benefited the business but also created a more loyal and motivated workforce. Patience, the key to resilience. Perhaps one of the most important lessons Adam learned was the power of patience. In the world of business, success is often promised to those who hustle and work relentlessly. But Adam realized that the Bible consistently reminded people of the importance of waiting, trusting, and remaining patient in times of struggle. The story of Job, whose faith and resilience were tested through immense suffering, became one of Adam's guiding lights. Job's perseverance through trials, his trust in God, and his eventual restoration served as a powerful reminder that difficulties are a part of life, but they are not the end. They are simply stepping stones on the path to greater success. In his business, Adam began to view challenges as opportunities for growth. When obstacles arose, whether they were financial struggles, market downturns, or conflicts within the team, he embraced them as moments to learn and refine his approach. Instead of rushing to find a quick fix, he gave himself the space to think things through, to seek wisdom, and to make decisions based on long-term benefits. Over time, this led to a stronger, more resilient company that was able to withstand economic downturns and emerge even more successful. The ripple effect, making a positive impact. Adam's journey was not just about achieving personal success. As he applied the principles he had learned, he began to see how his actions could positively impact others. He realized that when he adopted biblical principles of fairness, compassion, and service, he wasn't just building a successful business. He was building a company that could make a difference in the lives of others. He started taking steps to give back to the community. His business partnered with local charities, and he encouraged employees to volunteer and contribute their time to causes they cared about. Adam also took it upon himself to mentor younger entrepreneurs, sharing the lessons he had learned from the Bible and guiding them toward more ethical, sustainable business practices. This sense of purpose became a driving force in Adam's life. The realization that his business had the potential to create positive change in the world was far more fulfilling than any financial success could ever be. It gave him a deeper sense of meaning in everything he did. And he knew that his success was no longer just for him, it was for the benefit of others as well. A final reflection. The divine cipher unlocked. In the end, Adam realized that decoding the divine cipher wasn't just about uncovering hidden messages in the Bible. It was about applying those messages to his daily life and business practices. The wisdom, patience, and leadership principles he had uncovered had shaped him into a better business owner, a better leader, and a better person. The Bible's teachings, though ancient, were not outdated. They were timeless principles that held the key to success in every era, including the modern world of business. Adam's journey proved that by unlocking the wisdom found in these sacred texts, anyone could find the guidance they needed to succeed and thrive in life and business. So, as Adam closed his Bible after reading yet another passage, he smiled. He knew that the divine cipher had indeed been unlocked, and that it was now up to him, and to others, to continue to apply its lessons for generations to come. This conclusion emphasizes the application of biblical wisdom in modern-day leadership, financial management, resilience, and community impact. Adam's journey not only transformed his business but also helped him see the deeper purpose of his work in the context of biblical teachings. Through this story, viewers or readers are encouraged to explore the potential of biblical lessons for success and fulfillment in their own lives.